Tallinna 16. Graafikatriennaal tegeleb tänavu lugemisoskusega kõige laiemas mõttes. Mängitakse märkide, tähtede, sõnadega, dešifreeritakse ja kodeeritakse kujundeid, pilte, helisid, kõlasid. Tehakse raamatuid, arhiveeritakse, trükitakse ja reprodutseeritakse. Iga kunstnik on kirjaoskust või oskamatust omal moel interpreteerinud. Saates anname korraldajate ja kunstnikega koode, kuidas on võimalik triennaaliks valminud töid lahti muukida ehk missuguses võtmes neid paremini mõista. Ent kunsti puhul jääb alati kehtima reegel, et kõik on subjektiivne, õigeid ja valesid vastuseid ei ole. Iga vaataja kunstialane lugemisoskus sõltub tema enda soovist ja meelteavatusest.
Seekordne teema, kirjaoskus-kirjaoskamatus, on meil sündinud erakordselt vara juba 2012. aasta suvel. Ja teema töötasid välja meie nõukogu liikmed Eve Komissarov ja Kadri Karrok ja siis me alles hakkasime otsima kuraatorit ja kuraatorile see teema niivõrd meeldis, et ta ei pidanud vajalikuks midagi muud välja mõelda, vaid ta hakkas kohe sellest kinni, sest just äsja ilmus Taani kunstniku raamatutest tema kirjutatud teos ja kuraator suhestus kohe kõigega, mis oli seotud kunstniku raamatuga, kirjasõnaga, sest näitus tegeleb ka väga palju tõlgendustega.
I haven't myself made up that theme, but I could have, because it's a theme that is very close to my own heart and own interest in art. So that's why maybe also I was asked as the curator, because the theme is something that I have been working with in different levels. I'm from literature, and that is my great passion, but I have worked with arts and within the art field for 15 years, so these two connections are very close. And then the theme, of course, interested me because it's a thing that I find very important. Literacy-Illiteracy sounds maybe a bit very intellectual or academic from a first point of view. You could say it sounds a bit like, maybe even a bit snobbish, that something it's about reading books and be wise and so on. But to me, and for this whole triennial, it's a whole different thing. It's not only about reading books, it's not only about the ability to read and write, but it's also about how we decipher the information we look at and how we interact with this global internet era that we are all a part of today. How do we read the information that we constantly are bombarded with on the TV, on the internet? That is also very much part of this triennial.
Traditsiooni kohaselt me kuulutasime välja avatud konkursi, nagu alati, aga seekord me palusime kunstnikel mõne reaga selgitada, kuidas tema töö haakub antud teemaga. Seetõttu me saime võib-olla mõnevõrra vähem tagasisidet või aplikatsioonivorme kunstnikelt, aga see-eest me ei saanud formaalseid pakkumisi. Et kõik kunstnikud siiski üritasid väga teha triennaali jaoks ja selle teema jaoks, mille üle meil oli tõesti suur rõõm. Ja kuna teema sündis nii vara, siis me viisime läbi ka mitmeid haridusprojekte. Eesti Kunstiakadeemias oli ka mitu projekti, kus oli 10 loengut, erinevad workshopid ja nii edasi, nii et noored töötasid selle teema väga läbi ja ausalt öeldes on sellel ka tulemusi, sest kui vaadata esinejad, meil on 51 kunstnikku, 17 eestlast nendest, mis on nagu uskumatu tulemus. Ja seekord ei olnud mitte žürii ei valinud avatud konkursi töid välja, vaid kuraator Maria Kjær Themsen. Nii et ta töötas tihedalt koos oma kunstnikega, tal oli plaan kohe algusest peale, et kunstnikud, keda ta välja valis, suures osas teevad uued tööd triennaalile. Ja samas ta töötas väga põhjalikult läbi avatud konkursi tööd, see protsess oli pikem kui iial iganes, see kestis üle 3 kuu, nii et on tegemist väga sisulise lähenemisega ja minu meelest väga tervikliku tulemusega, mille üle on ju ainult hea meel. Meil on alati olnud rõhk ju Baltimaadel, nii et me peame nagu väga oluliseks Balti kunstnike osalust, aga mis seekordse triennaali teeb erinevaks, on see, et huvitav küll, et loogiline oleks, et meil on kogu aeg olnud hästi palju Põhjamaa kunstnikke, aga see ei ole nii. On olnud küll palju soomlasi, aga seekord võib öelda tõesti, et meil on rõhk Põhjamaadel. Et me oleme enne ära käinud Pariisis ja siis nuusakule tagasi tulnud, võib öelda, sest küll me oleme näiteks eelmine aasta meil oli, võib öelda, fookus isegi Ladina-Ameerikal ja meil oli hästi palju kaugelt kunstnikke, meil oli küll ka rohkem maid, aga seekord on juhtunud lihtsalt nii, et ka juhuslikult läbi Open Calli pääsesid rohkem lähiregioonide inimesed ja siin ei ole nagu midagi tegemist sellega, kes kust pärit on. Võib-olla lihtsalt eestlastel oli ka see informatsioon, et me soovime ainult teemasse tehtud töid, nii et meil ei ole väga palju maid, aga see-eest meil on tugev fookus Põhjamaadel.
I was invited by the curator that's standing for the exhibitions. It was also a little hard theme for me, I think, because I work very narrative, as you can see. So for me, it was. It's not like I would say I'm pretty much out of my comfort zone, but so it was nice to actually have this kind of obstacle, and hopefully try to use it as good as I could.
How do you work? There is a mixture of techniques.
Yeah, definitely. In a sense, you can say I'm pretty classical. The works are primarily lino cuts, but in big scale. So that has been like the old graphic tradition has been. I've always been very interested in it. For me, it was naturally try to how could you take a new task on this old tradition. And then so I started out doing like big scale graphic works to try to push the border of how you normally see graphics production. There's like in smaller size and stuff like that.
How do you print all these big cuts?
Well, I built my own print machine back in Denmark for a couple of years ago. So it's been like it's not so high tech, but it's working and give me the opportunity actually to work in some larger scales than that I normally would do with the facilities I got. This is not like one big piece. There is a limitation of the size of the paper. It's very hard to get paper size over 150. So that's a limitation in itself, and also for me to actually to make sure that I have a perfect print, and also if I have to manage by myself, I have to. There is some limitations, but it's the first time I try to use this like a more collage technique, and I think there's some pretty good things in it so far. The main idea actually was thinking about the quilted carpets and tapestry that also have this like a narrative, and I thought I could use that to make it more fractile and more abstract, with a lot of different ways into the picture. So you have like different components that had to speak to each other. Didn't have this a normal narrative way of looking at the picture, but hopefully like a different kind of stories combined. So that was the main idea actually. Been very interesting in the old like film noir and the settings, and also these big pieces like fractals. I think there's some. I'm really interested in how you can combine like how nature maybe can be like a symbol also to a state of mind. And that's why they have like these burned out trees and stuff like that as well.
This one here?
That should have been a moon. Maybe you can't see it, but for me it's not that important how people actually read it. For me, I have my own interpretation about what the work is all about, but hopefully people can find their own way into the work and find something that that like interesting them or can put themselves into the picture. So
This work you produced, you made for
this is
for
made especially for this one, and it's only one take, and I think it's gonna be this one time, and then it's not gonna be shown again. So that was the main idea about it, actually.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think that a lot of those prints ain't gonna make it home anyway. So
It was difficult to transport them.
no, not really. No. It's just like it's hard to install a thing like this because you have to use a lot of nails or stuff like that, and that ruin pretty much the work after installation.
It's nearly half and half. I think maybe 27 from my selection and 22 from the open call, or a bit like that. It's different methods, but the exhibition is one unique whole. In this exhibition we have a lot of different methods of printmaking that you wouldn't maybe say at a first sight, oh, this is also printmaking. But all that is present at this exhibition is somehow related to graphic art or printmaking. So on, we have very different ways of engaging with the old tradition of printmaking and graphic art that shows different ways to work with it today. Mm-hmm. For example, if we speak about this work by Estonian artist Katja Novitskova, you wouldn't say maybe when you look at it, okay, this is a piece of printmaking, but it is. And it's a version that is very important to show in the triennial, that nowadays the young artists work with printmaking, they deal with printmaking in very different ways. Some of them are very old school, taking the old book format as their point of departure with nice quality paper and very, like, they care for the materiality in the book. And some of them deals with printmaking in relation to the screen and our internet era. So, for example, this print is on aluminium. So the owls are taken from an internet photo and made directly printed on the aluminium. So it's a whole different way of dealing with printmaking that is her very own invention, Katja Novitskova. Part of the work is also this iPad, where she has made a whole book that is called The Never Ending Story, with pictures from the internet with animals. Because she says, okay, we all, most of us today look at animals through the screen. How do we grasp or take things back from the screen out into reality again and connect with them also on a bodily level? So this is a very contemporary way of dealing with printmaking. This is Katri Ikavalko from the Open Call, and what I liked about her work is that it's this old school typewriter, and she has made different portraits of people on the this old typewriting machine on silk. So this is actually silk. Again, a very sensory and tactile work, but it's still a printed work. But it's old school and still also very contemporary because it deals with materials and not only the surface of a flat screen. So this is a work by Raoul Mehl, Estonian artist, a work that has never been shown in public before. I visited him and found this book in his archive from '68. Where he has made on also like the same old typewriter machine. It's portraits of Estonian authors and writers. So this is a reproduction. So this is a copy of the original typewritten papers. Because in this show, we only show things that can be reproduced. That we don't show unique artworks like paintings or sculptures or so.
how would the performance be reproduced?
The performances for the opening, we are not thinking about reproducing them. It's not performers that we have hired for the opening. The performance artists this night are all part of the exhibition. Like Kiwa, he's part of the exhibition with a new book he has made, a publication that is called the Anthology of the Non-Existent Books.
Ma olin esimene Eesti kunstnik, kes hakkas tegutsema interdistsiplinaarselt, et paralleelselt nii kunstiga kui kirjandusega kui muusikaga ja mulle on hästi südamelähedane alati olnud see valdkondade omavahelised üleminekud ja Graafikatriennaali teema, et visuaalne kunst siduda tekstiga ja kõnega ja häälega ja tähtedega, see mulle sümpatiseeris ja jah, ma suhtlesin nende inimestega, kes korraldavad Graafikatriennaali ja mul oli see olematute raamatute antoloogia idee tegelikult olnud juba 14 aastat tagasi ja siis ma pakkusin selle neile välja juhuslikult ja siis pidime seda kohutava kiirusega tegema hakkama, sest neile see idee õudselt meeldis, aga ma ei olnud mitte mingeid ettevalmistusi teinud ja öelda autoritele, et kirjuta nüüd mõne kuuga raamat, see on neile väga vähese etteteatamisajaga, seda oleks pidanud olema mitu aastat, aga õnnestus kõik teha ja seoses raamatu väljaandmisega me mõtlesime, et teeks siis ka juba kirjastuse ja tegimegi kirjastuse Paranoia, mis siis hakkab välja andma rahvusvaheliselt Eesti eksperimentaalkirjandust, kuna see on üks asi, mis meil siin Eestis tõesti tugev on. Inimestel on analüütiline mõtlemine, nagu Sven Grünberg alati ütleb, et eestlased on budistid, sest nad mõtlevad analüütiliselt, nad ei usu populismi ja propagandat. Samuti meil on Juri Lotmani semiootika koolkond, kuidagi selline tekstipõhine maailm, et see kõik sobib väga hästi.
Siin 16 kirjaniku seas on väga-väga tugevad nimed, õigupoolest kõik 16 kirjanikku, kaasa arvatud Kiwa ise. Eesmärk ongi seda just Eesti eksperimentaalkirjanduse rahvusvahelisustamist ehk siis muuta seda rahvusvaheliseks, ehk siis levitada seda üle maailma, et seda loetaks Kolumbias ja sellepärast meil on see ka kakskeelne, eesti ja inglisekeelne, et seda loetaks Soomes ja Taga-Karpaatides ja nii edasi. Ma
kutsusin autorid selle järgi, keda ma olen jälginud selles eksperimentaalkirjanduse vallas, mis Eestis on selline natuke kõrvaline äärepealne nähtus. Ta ei ole päris tunnustatud kirjandusena, kuigi nüüd viimastel aastatel on progress, et meil on siin autoriteks näiteks Valdur Mikita, kes on praegu raamatumüügi edetabelites tipus, Paavo Matsin, kelle eelmine teos Sinine kaardivägi eelmisel aastal ikkagi sadade inimeste südameid võitis. Ja nemad on need, kes on, ütleme, viimase 20 aasta jooksul, taasiseseisvumise aja jooksul, kes on teinud eksperimentaalkirjandust ja ma teadsin, et see on kindla peale väljaminek, kui ma neilt tellin midagi. Tegelikult oli mul see list alguses 2 või 3 korda pikem, aga kõik ei jõudnud sellise ajaga, et siia need 16-17 autorid, kes lõpuks jäid ja ma käisin neile lihtsalt välja selle teema, et kui ma ütlesin, et kui ma sind juba olen valinud, siis ma olen kindel, et sa sobid siia kogumikku ja see on minu asi, kuidas sa sobid, et sina kirjuta, mis sa tahad, aga see võiks olla sinu visioon olematust raamatust, et mis see sinu jaoks on? Para, see on soome-ugri keeltes nagu paras või ülim ja noia või noid, see on nagu stalker või šamaan. Et see on tegelikult sellise ülima, kristlikult öeldes nagu ülima suunas palvetamine või šamanistlikult öeldes ülima varitsemine või isegi jumala. Et tegelikult see sõna paranoia, ta ei ole seotud haigusega siin meie kirjastuse nimena, et tal on selline hästi positiivne tähendus ja see ongi meie kirjastuse mõte, et me muudame neid tähendusi, kuna me tegutseme nii tekstipõhiliselt ja selliste autoritega, kelle jaoks see keel ise ja tähendus on hästi olulised, et nad näitavad, nad avardavad lugeja maailmapilti. Miks
Kiwa ka selle kirjastuse lõi, on just sellepärast, iseseisvad väikesed kirjastused on praegu ülemaailmne trend, sellepärast, et suurkirjastused tihti selekteerivad ja kardavad alternatiivset kirjandust. Meie siis tegime nii-öelda siin otsa Eestis lahti oma kirjastusega ja loodame sellest kasvatada suure, kuid väga avatud põhimõtete ja silmaringiga kirjastuse.
Всегда открывают двери, входи в лифты, поднимайся на этажи, проходи по коридорам, всегда садись в машины, заводи двигатель. Если зима, подожди, пока он прогреется. Всегда трать деньги, но понемногу, и только изредка трать все, что под рукой.
We have a lot of sound works, So a lot of the works actually, if you speak about the translation from one thing to another, I can show you in here the Toril Johannessen. These 5 works are by Norwegian artist Toril Johannessen. It's silk screen, and she has taken these different informations from different magazines. So for example, Miracles in Nature and Science are from Science magazine. And she has then Googled, because nowadays all these old magazines are scanned, so everybody can search in Google, and they can Google the words, specific words, like for example, the word miracle. And you can Google how many times it was between this year and this year, between 1869 and 2009. How many times did the word miracle appear in this magazine? So this is somehow very linked to the triennial's theme of literacy. How do we decode this information? To me, graphs like this has also always been a way where I have been very illiterate. I cannot, I don't know how to read it and take out the information in it. But I can look at it as an image, and the image is beautiful. So this is also very strong in the exhibition, that it's not only an information, like from one to one, how do you read this, but also how do you see it as a visual thing in the world. So this is very much at the core of Toril Johannessen's work. My advice to the spectators and visitors for the exhibition would be not to be too prejudiced about the theme, about, it's about literacy, but more to just go in and watch and be open and look at the pictures as some visual picture and see if that somehow connects to their maybe aesthetic, sensory eye organ or ears, because we have sound works also. The triennial's concept is that we show words that use digital or analog technique and that can be reproduced. So photography is also a printmaking. Film is also considered because it can be reproduced. It's not a unique thing. So in that way, video works and film, what will not go is a drawing. If you make a copy of that drawing, then it's printmaking again. For example, this big projection work by Danish artist Ferdinand Eve Kask, and it's closely also related to our sensory way of taking in the world. So it's only these round formations about the universe, the moon, or the monetary system. You will see a €1 coin, or food, like plates with food, eggs, round things, that some of it, like the moon and the universe, it's something we can only look at. We can never take it into our body. We can look at it and never really fully grasp it. The monetary system is something we have in our hands all the time, and it's still something we don't really understand. And then the food is something you actually have to take into your body And you know, this kind of levels of distance that he tried to collapse and make these three things closely related to each other. It's a work that deals with the understanding of the world. How do you grasp these big systems that we are all part of? So in that way, this is a video that very much connects to the theme of literacy, but maybe not in a literal way, if that makes sense.
I was invited by Maria and didn't know her before. She must have seen my work somewhere.
Is this theme, literacy, something that intrigues you for some time already?
It definitely is, also in the wider sense that Maria indicated, it not being only about the alphabet, writing and reading, but the ability to see images, understand images, find your way in archives and libraries, digital ones and analog ones. I think that's what I'm dealing with a lot in my work too.
Is this work done especially for this occasion?
Yes, it comes together with a small edition, and that was printed especially for the exhibition here at the museum. It's a book I accidentally found in a library, and I forgot what I was actually looking for, but I found this book on library architecture. And the book was called, the title of the book is Building for Books, and it shows examples for library architecture, and in this case here an image of bookshelves, how to insert bookshelves into libraries, good solutions, bad solutions. So this is an illustration for shelving in a library. And well, I quite like the caption saying "a student at ease amongst the books," and I thought, oh, that's exactly it. I'm in a library looking at a book, and it's a repetition of my own act of going to the library, being at ease amongst the books, between the bookshelves, browsing through the books. And then I took a photograph of the open book. So it's a photograph of the book with a depiction of the library, and that photograph was turned A into the sculpture you see here, and B into a small publication edition. And I work a lot with reproduction editions, print books myself, and do large-scale installation like the one you see here. And I'm quite curious about the status of the model, and that's what I was aiming at with the edition, because I built models for large-scale installations just to communicate what I'm planning to do and to see how a work would work in an exhibition space. And then quite often I like the models themselves a lot, and the model as a predecessor for an actual work. But then on the other hand, the documentation plays an important role, because in the space, your physical relationship towards this book, you disappearing in the book, being all of a sudden smaller than the book, and also you being able to access the reverse side of the book, to in a way break the spell and see how it's done and see how simple the construction actually is. That's something I find very hard to document in a photograph, because I really want to give the viewer the freedom to, well, experience the work in space. So in a way the model is both. It's a predecessor for the work, it's the first stage, but it's also documenting the work.
These are Ruta Spelskidde from Lithuania. From the open call, and what I liked about it, when I saw her applications, I thought, what do this have to do with anything? First of all, she has taken the flowers from her childhood garden, and she has made scans, this very tactile technique where the black is more black than black, really even sense the blackness. It's not only a photograph, it's standing out. And the flower is not only a depiction of a flower, it becomes something in itself. So that's a very strong theme in the exhibition. How do we depict the world so on a flat surface you will somehow get the sense of a more 3D organism, like these flowers are full-bodied somehow. How do we depict nature right now? Because it has been painted, it has been photographed, and this is a new method of doing that. So I think in that way it connects again to the theme, but in a more abstract sense.
Okay, I've published a book, and this is a book. It's called El Camino del Hardcore, the subtitle is Reisen til Nordens Inter, and it's a book about traveling. And it all comes down to the fact that I believe artists have to reinvent their Reisen, the idea of traveling. Today, all artists only travel by plane. They get booked a flight ticket and they just go to somewhere, etc., etc. And that's a very boring way of seeing countries. I mean, after all, Kiev looks kind of the same as Moscow, etc., etc., etc. But you have to travel through the lands. Also, with these, all this environmentally blah 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 blah, nobody seems to do anything. But what you can do is you can build a bike like I've done, and you can travel huge distances. And I've written a book about that, and it's called El Camino del Hardcore, Reisen til Nordens Inter. And it's a book that's been going on for 4 years. And the first part is rather boring. The second part is a dialogue with an artist in Spain called Rock, and that went on for 4 years. And then the last part is grey. And the reason why the last part is grey is because the last part is linked up to some audio files which I carry around in my bike. Now, in order to get those audio files, you have to wait for me to arrive and deliver those. And in order for me to deliver them, I have to make my own electricity. So in the bike, I can generate electricity. Like here, I have a battery, and it allows me to, over time, power the thing. And I can power up this device, and then I can bring it out, because real computer musicians build their own bikes and make their own electricity. So that's the very, very next level.
So you have constructed this bike?
Yeah.
You are traveling with it?
Yeah.
Since when?
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah, 4 years.
This book, you are doing this book already?
Since part of it is already printed, I only do the grey pages. So the grey pages are still in process.
But if it will be full, you don't have any pages, what will you?
Nah, but you see, these things goes together with an audio file. So these things are only half of the pages. So for example, we have this one called A Message to the International Hacker Community. And here there only appears half of the text. The other half of the text appears on the audio file. So it, for example, says, "Welcome to Amsterdam, the 5th of September 2012. I recently received an email from an Israeli friend of mine, his name." So you need the audio file for that.
So you do an audio file?
Yeah. So so that's how it works. You gotta macho it up these days. It's macho, like man. It's next level man. So you gotta have a man for the new millennium. And I believe I am the man for the new millennium. Back in the days, MTV and American Man, they're about this, but real new man is about this. Okay. So that's next level man. So we're gonna go for next level.
Where have you been?
Moscow, Tallinn, Tampere, Helsinki, Oslo, Stockholm, Reykjavik, Nuuk in Greenland, Boston in America, through Denmark down.
You still take a boat, for example?
I can take a boat. It doesn't go on water, unfortunately, but it goes other ways. Yeah, but and then of course down to Paris and through Europe, and things like that. It's been around. I've done many thousand kilometers.
For how long you think you would travel?
Until my health breaks in, or until I'm eaten up by the art world.
You are not afraid to be bored?
No, because I get to meet you, and then I'm not bored. So that's how it works.
And how long will you stay when once on a place?
I don't know, but I have to be in Switzerland very, very soon, so I'll probably have to leave at some point.
You move according to the places where you're asked?
It's rock and roll. It's rock and roll. A gig at a time.
Okay, and is train allowed for you?
Train can be allowed, but they won't allow the bike. Generally, you can't get the bike on board the train.
And what is it on the wall?
Yeah, that's a statement which is the only interesting thing I've ever said in my life. It's the only interesting thing I've ever said. But it says, the further a message has to travel over space and time, the more importance can you add to its content. And this is very interesting because these days all the young kids, they are like, oh, you gotta stay connected and all that. But that's wrong because the further a message has to travel over space and time, the more importance can you add to its content. That means, for example, if you get a message from, anything written in ancient Egypt will be more interesting than what I write in this book, simply by the fact that it have traveled further over space and time. And this is my contribution to information theory. I believe that this is a Goodiepal equation. And that's also why a lot of people have showed interest in my book, simply because it have traveled so far over space and time.
But you have just one book?
No, it's published.
It's published, okay.
But
so
this,
it reproduced or...
Yeah, but that doesn't really matter because,
okay.
Because before I come, then nobody wants to read it anyway. It's simply me traveling over space and time that creates the rock and roll.
Tallinna Graafikatriennaalil on olnud juba traditsioonilised preemiad, need on Grand Prix, 3 võrdset preemiat ja diplomid. Tallinna linn toetas meid seekord preemiafondiga. Vanasti oli Tallinna linna eripreemia, kui võib-olla linn tegeles rohkem kunstikollektsiooniga. Aga meil on olnud seekord, peab ütlema, majanduslikult väga raske, et meid on tabanud see majanduskriisi järellöök just nüüd. Nii et mul on väga hea meel, et me saame need preemiad välja anda, sest siin on ka see missioon, et need preemia saanud tööd, rahalised preemiad, need tööd lähevad kõik KUMU kunstimuuseumi kollektsiooni. Ja kui muidu Kultuurkapital toetab muuseumid Eesti kunstnike ostmisega, siis ma arvan, et muuseumil ei ole palju võimalusi rahvusvahelist kunsti muretseda, nii et tegelikult need preemiad on just üliolulised, et nad jäävad Eestisse KUMU kollektsiooni, neid saab tulevikus vaadata. Selle aasta Grand Prix sai Leedu kunstnik Viktoria Rõbakova raamatu eest. See on jälle nagu tõlgendus. Tegemist on ühe päris eaka leedukaga, kes elab Kanadas, on aastate jooksul, nagu ma aru sain, juba nõukogude ajast peale saatnud oma raamatuid Leedu rahvusmuuseumisse. Ja seal on tekkinud juba päris paras kollektsioon. Selle näituse üheks märksõnaks ongi arhiivid, nii et Viktoria Rõbakova on läinud siis arhiivi, raamatukokku, ta on töötanud selle materjali läbi, valinud eriti selliseid raamatuid, ma väga põgusalt olen seda tööd näinud, kus on tehtud mingeid märkmeid ja pannud oma sellise loo kokku või teinud raamatust, mis avaneb veel nagu katedraal. Žüüri eelistused on just läinud paljuski raamatu formaadile. Küll aga võib tegelikult lugemisoskus nagu ümber defineerida ja panna küsimärgi alla, et see on läinud tänapäeval palju keerulisemaks. Ja kui vaadata neid auhinnasaajaid töid, siis nad tegelikult kõik tõlgendavad midagi. Kui meie reglementi vaadata, siis me oleme graafikapiire aastate jooksul väga palju nihutanud ja oleme need piirid seadnud raamiks on reprodutseeritavus, mis tähendab, mida me näeme ka näitusel, töid, mis püstitavad küsimuse koopia originaali vahel, taastootmine, taaskasutus, ümberdefineerimine. Nii et selles mõttes siin on mitu raamatut, mis tegelevad raamatuga raamatus. Minu meelest vähemalt 1/3 näitusest tegeleb kas kunstiteosega raamatu vormis või siis nagu siin on näha pildiga raamatust, et raamat kui tarkuse konteiner, ütleme nii, on loomulikult seotud kirjaoskuse-kirjaoskamatusega väga tihedalt. On ju Graafikakodu ka raamat.